Hi, this is Neeti Keswani. I am author of best-selling book Live Your Dreams and founder of Blush Inc. And today we have with us Sandhya Krishnan. She's a certified life coach, and let's discuss with her what she has to say about our podcast, Luxury Unplugged, and let us hear her views on the mindset, the perspective that she brings on relationships, and so many more things. Let's get started. So,
Hi,
Sandhya, hi, nice to have you here.
I'm so excited to be here. Thanks for having me.
Please tell us something about yourself and what you do and why you do it.
All right. So I am a lawyer by qualification, and I've worked in the corporate sector for several years in different verticals in media, in publishing, in retail, and corporate training. And I think through all of these, I had lots of learnings, and I was always sort of very driven, but therefore also very anxious, and a lot of fear of failure and self doubt, like many professionals, and especially women professionals in the workplace, and constant feelings of FOMO, imposter syndrome, you name it, and I had it. Uh, but I also realized that I really loved sort of understanding more about what motivates us in terms of behavior, but also what drives us as human beings, and really whether there is a better way to live, and a more and a is there like a secret path to success, or is there like a purpose to our life, and what stops us from being the best version of ourselves, right? Sometimes we sort of self-sabotage, and I was very curious about the why of these, and I would always sort of research, study these for myself. And it was a mentor of mine who told me that hey, listen, there's a place for people like you who've done all of this research in the professional space, and they're called executive coaches, they're called life coaches. You can do the certification. And initially I was a little sort of skeptical, but when I explored it a bit, and definitely once I started working in this space, I saw how powerful this was. Not so much, this isn't about giving advice, as most people now know about life coaching. It's really about drawing out what is in the best, what the best is in a person, helping them realize their potential. I mean, I can only say that I feel blessed to be witness to this on a daily basis. It's been tremendously fulfilling as a journey, and personally for me as well.
Lovely, lovely to hear that, Sandhya. So tell me, Sandhya, when you say that you do life coaching, and you specifically talked about women, so are you specifically coaching them, or you are in all the sectors, like in the business arena as well and executive coaching as well? What sort of thing do you do?
When I first started out, I have to say, you kind of work with your familiarity areas, even though you get trained in the process. The first networks you kind of make are through your immediate circle. So I would say back when I first started, I probably did work a lot with women, but I was very keen to not silo myself, or typecast myself, because I truly believed in whole person coaching. And not only is the profession, there's only one self at the end of the day, that shows up for work, and for our families and for ourselves, and those lines have become even more blurry thanks to work from home. But I also truly believe that I'm a person who likes to think beyond gender, and inclusive of every gender. And I've really fought against some of these stereotyping. It's worked beautifully for me. Some of the areas I really work on, especially during lockdown, have been in understanding why we get anxious, what holds us back, how to find meaning in our everyday life, how to find balance, how to find purpose, and our greatest path to success. So I'd say I'm a whole person coach, above all else. And that's worked really well. And I do see that there are a lot of people who want to address their lives holistically, rather than any one segment, or part of their lives.
Right. So I would like to definitely ask you on behalf of Luxury Unplugged. I'll just tell you a little about our podcast. So we are sort of bringing out stories around luxury, but I want to explore with this podcast the true essence of luxury. Is it the only the material aspect, or is it the mindset that draws in luxury? And when you are coaching somebody, are you looking at them like you rightly said that I'm coaching on the wholesome level, but where does mindset play that role in your coaching? Is it from the beginning, or does it come a little later after the lifestyle, the diet, things like that have been addressed?
Great question. First of all, I love your podcast. I'm no stranger to it. But also, I'll define, and I love the part of the reason why I was so quick to say yes to you when you asked is because, luxury, exactly as you're exploring, has different meanings for different people. For
True.
somebody who's so time starved and time poor, the ultimate luxury is the luxury of time or the idea of time abundance, right?
Yeah.
Now, to the second part of your question, what comes first? Does the mindset come first or does the time come first? It's a bit of a chicken and egg situation, right? I would say it's very individualistic as an approach. In some cases, you literally have to create the space in which you can allow certain aspects of your personality, your effort, your choice to even exercise itself, to manifest. And by that I mean that if you're working like an 18-hour job that you absolutely hate and you have dreams of having an entrepreneurial venture, for example, you might need to literally create a block of time. Like a client of mine just took 2 weeks off of work just to sit and work on his idea for an entrepreneurial venture. On the other right, that do you can you hold the idea of something 10x bigger than where you are? I One of the things I often joke to clients is like, don't make a goal of having like 1 million in the bank. You think like 50 million. Metric may not always be money, but I think true luxury really is a life that's defined by the values that mean the most to you. And if money is one of those, I will always say that's very important. We often think that, oh, a very good life must be a non-materialistic life. Not at all. Not at all. But we need to understand the difference between intrinsic and extrinsic motivations. Money, for money's sake, brings very little joy and happiness on a daily basis. In fact, it can bring a lot of insecurity, FOMO, and all of these other things that I mentioned right at the beginning about myself. But money as a byproduct of something bigger, once you've understood what your natural proclivities are, what your intrinsic motivations are, what the biggest goal that you can visualize is, money can very well be a byproduct of that. And much, like I said, not 1 million, but it should be like, it could very well be that 50 million. So what could be greater luxury than that, than having a life of thriving? And if material luxury is a part of that, hell yeah, is all I'll say.
So when somebody comes for coaching to you, how would you address the why in their life, that why they're doing something? How would you motivate, or how would you inspire somebody or influence somebody to do what they're doing in a better way, or maybe just change careers, just change paths? How would you do that? How would you go about doing that?
One of the life-changing moments for me personally was actually understanding the true definition of the word educate. Okay, we often think of educate, especially in the context of children, as like we're going to shovel information down you, and make you very wise, and perhaps you'll start performing and reach a credible level of social acceptability. Educate actually means to draw out what is within. And
Lovely.
really, that's what I do in my everyday work. I feel like, the basic premise, and I always sort of put this forward as a hypothesis, and I say, look, what if you were to work, rather than you having to learn new skills or reinvent yourself, what if we were to work with the hypothesis that you are your best self, shrouded in ignorance or fear or socialization, or, if I use some of the language from psychology, contamination by the shoulds and oughts, and must be good, and we must adhere to our all of the good things that life, that define a successful life for us. If we're able to tap into the most authentic side of ourselves, it's like getting a tailwind in any of the activity that we undertake. It's the work that you would do with a sense of flow, but not at the cost. We also look at life in its entirety. Then therefore the whole person coaching, right? If you
Right.
single-mindedly pursue a goal, you will probably, most likely, you will get it, but it will come at a cost that you might not be prepared to pay 5 or 10 years down the line. Right
Right.
now, it will be all you can see, but there could be a huge cost for it, in terms of your health or your relationships somewhere down the line. So it's partly a combination of you finding what your actual drivers were, what your natural self is like, because it's the thing that you would do honestly if nobody were paying you money to do. It's where your energy would, your curiosity, your interest naturally flows. but that we are not just one thing, we are so many things, including the obligations that we might have undertaken, right? Like if you have two kids that you need to put through school, or if you have a mortgage, it's important to sort of keep all of these in hold these lightly, but to keep them on your radar, because you can't just walk away and say, oh, you know what, let them take care of themselves, I'm going to pursue my passion of being like a, street musician or whatever. So
Right. Yeah.
no
So
simple answers there, but
yes, that's what I'm trying to figure out. That if somebody has to come through coaching, is it going to be like you have a system to through which you take them through? Is it like a session by session thing that you take them through, and you sort of peel the layers, help
so
them understand?
that's where I'll defer to the kind of.
Sorry.
Sure. There was a bit of a disruption on the voice there. I was saying that this is where I'll defer to the training that we have. So I'm trained under the International Coach Federation, the
Mhm.
ICF,
Yeah.
and we're trained in certain protocols of how we follow the process of inquiry. Okay. So
Mhm.
besides the code of ethics and confidentiality, we also have certain protocols on how we actually conduct the coaching engagement itself. It's coming to an agreement about what the goals are going to be, setting expectations of what is coaching, what is not coaching, the rules of behavior of, when we offer suggestions, which is a distant second to drawing out, like I said, drawing out what is actually in a person. And then for us to actually, it's like saying, you are here, we truly recognize where you are, where you really want to go, not based on what society, mummy papa has said where we have to go, but truly where we want to go. And then, like, the path, what are the steps that are going to take us to go from here to here? What can make you deviate from your path? What can make you fearful about embarking on your path? What kind of accountability do you need depending on the person? These are the aspects that we work on in the entire coaching engagement.
Right.
I personally don't do very long engagements. I'll be honest. I encourage people to get their mindset, like, really, to once you dive into who you truly are, it's like a kaleidoscope. Something just shifts inside you, and suddenly there's like dazzling clarity. You make that plan, make your goals. You're like, I got this covered. This I got. This I trust myself to do. And then I personally like would rather push the person and say, ja Simran ji le apni zindagi. Always come back to course correct, but like trust yourself. Then you don't develop that dependence that without my coach I can't take the next step. I'll say, rather than me being your partner in that journey, like, I think of myself as a pole. Use me to just pole vault, so that then you're flying. You're in the stratospheric zone.
Lovely, lovely. Well said. On another note, I'd like to understand, do you have three specific hacks for productivity, especially because in the given situation that we are in, what sort of things do you have for our listeners?
Okay, productivity. I will say, don't try and mimic a machine. Okay, if you're doing brainless work, there's a machine that can do it better than you. Please allow. So delegate, automate wherever you can. All right. The second I will say is create your meaning, even for the most mundane of tasks. When we infuse meaning into that task, it could be something as simple as, like, cooking your food, right? I will say, stop and think about the person who's going to be eating. And even if that person is just you, or just you and your partner, think about the meaning of that shared meal. It will create so much more present moment awareness in the activity. Okay, and the same goes for the work. Even if you're in the depths of coding one tiny part of a giant wheel, think about the person who benefits from either the next person down the line, or the end consumer of your product. See how it touches their life. Infusing that meaning could help us, like, get out of bed when there's such a grayness to our lives, thanks to work from home and lockdown, stuff like that. The third, I'll say, try and get a buddy if that works for you, to create accountability external to yourself. um, Work, when you share, when you co-work with somebody, even remotely, with a friend, with a literal third party co-worker, a stranger even, it makes the journey that much more enjoyable. We know that from behavioral science, right? Like, a mountain that seems like a 9 on 10 in terms of difficulty will actually seem like a 6 on 10, just because somebody else is walking. They're not on the same path as you, but just having them by your side makes that much of a difference. So these are three, like, science based hacks that I'm giving you, that I hope will
These are
help.
very, very helpful. Thank you so much, Anya.
My pleasure.
And last but not the least, how do you think that you would take care of balancing work life, so to say? I know that you coach on this aspect, so I think this is a topic that you love to talk about. So, so please go ahead.
Uh, so I'll start by saying that the way the brain works is that we kind of reach a decision and then we justify it backwards. Okay. So the way I have justified the very long hours that I work these days is that, oh my God, I work in the space of anxiety, wellness, and the need is so great right now. This is my dharma. I must do it. But I'm well aware that I will not be able to sustain these hours for very long. So for anybody else, I will say always think a little bit long term. The brain tends to hyper focus on the present. The present is all there is. This upcoming deadline is all that you can see, right? We tend to hyper focus. When we take that pause, like literally start your morning by saying, what's my week going to look like? What the new year can be a time for you to say, what is this year going to look like? A salient and important birthday can be to say, what is the next 5 years of my life going to look like? And when you start to think about the things that are going to be important for you in those 5 years, in that year, or even in that week, you'll suddenly realize that, boss, if I spend 80 hours on one part of my life, where the hell is the remaining other aspects of my life going to fit in? If I don't put these little deposits into other aspects of my life, I'll have absolutely no returns 1 week later, 1 year later, or 5 years later. It's like I said, right? The cost could be friendship, the cost could be your health, the cost could be even the relationship that you know means way more to you than a job. It could be the kids that are going to be grown up and out of your house before you even know it. So having that little bit of pause before you jump into the fray, I think, is invaluable in terms of, and then when you set your boundaries, you'll be surprised how the world starts to respect that. But you have to have that clarity in your head first.
Right. Absolutely nicely said. Like, I am totally impressed, Sandhya. And I think we would conduct another session with you to gauge more about the coaching that you do. And I think for now it is time to say ciao. But yes, we are going to be in touch, and let's do another session very soon. I think this is going to be airing in January, and I think the first week of January, because this is the time when we would love to, when everybody loves to talk about productivity, everybody loves to talk about how to have that work-life balance, everybody's set for the goals ahead for the year. So I think this would be a tremendously good podcast for the first week of Jan.
Absolutely.
And I will keep you posted on that. And it's been lovely talking to you.
Likewise.
Lovely having you.
Thank you so much for having me, and all the best for your podcast. All the very
Thank you
best to
so
you.
much. Thank you so much. Let's be
Bye.
in touch. Bye bye.